Knicks, stop trying to just steal other people's head coaches.
Why?
Go get your because no one's gonna let you. Like, I don't understand. The thing is, you're going after all.
So you could have my coach for $10 billion.
No, I mean seriously. Like, are we surprised that they're saying no?
Is it shameful that the Knicks played that card and it seems like it's a slap in the face?
Yeah, like that you didn't have a plan other than, well, someone at some point will give us their head coach, right? No. Welcome, everybody, to episode 165 of Cinco Squad. My name is Mike DeSanto. With me is Grandpa Jay, as always. Trey and John out again this week. Trey, I think, where's he, Jay, where's he training now?
Well, since we're exactly 1 year out from the World Cup, apparently the San Jose or the San Diego thing might be working out. By the way, they're doing really well right now in the MLS this year. So apparently he might be sticking around in San Diego. He said it's the West Coast Tampa. I mean, it's the West Coast Tampa, and he really liked Tampa. So it reminded him a lot of here. So he's going to be out in San Diego for a little while longer. Any updates on John?
Yeah, so I know John has been, looking at some potential prospects from the Syracuse University football team for his Eagles, but I also heard he's been spending a lot of time around the Syracuse Mets, the AAA team for the New York Mets team. I hear tell, and I can't reveal my sources, but the rumors are he may be getting a tryout with the Syracuse Mets, so we may be seeing John in the big league someday.
Was that designated catcher for everybody in the bullpen? What's he gonna do?
I think he's looking at backup catcher DH duties.
Like that for John. That might work out. We hope it does, because hey, one of us needs to love what we do and get paid for it. So come on now, John, let's go.
Yes, we're all behind you, John. But meanwhile, we do have the NBA and NHL finals going on. And real quick, just wanted to give an update on that. We're actually, as we speak, it's as we record this, it's game 3 of the NBA finals, Pacers Thunder. So Jay, how you been feeling about both kind of series and what's been happening so far?
Before we get there, do you feel like people really underplay that Indiana is kind of like a basketball mecca itself? Like, do you feel people don't realize how sport they are when Indiana actually plays New York, because it's like a mecca and a mecca when it comes to basketball?
Yeah, no, 100%. Honestly, like, I think people forget the history of basketball in Indiana. I mean, we talk about how Indiana is a state of basketball and swimming. Right. Like, the Hoosiers established themselves very early on in college basketball as a very powerful program. Have they been recently? No. But I think that kind of bleeds over into a love of basketball amongst fans that are now Pacers fans as well. And so, I mean, Pacers fans show out. I think people underestimate the ability of Pacers fans to really fill up the building and be loud, both on the road and at home.
And now I feel the same thing about OKC fans, right? I mean, like you go around the arena and every single person wears whatever color T-shirt they told them to wear on their seat. It's like, where the hell is the Indiana fan section? You can't find it anywhere. Then you feel the same thing in Indiana. It's a sea of yellow. It's like, where the hell is there any blue or white? It's sprinkled in there somewhere, but it's so almost buried within the mania that's basketball in Indiana. And OKC hasn't really embraced their team, and they feel it's their time. I feel like Indiana stole game 1 again, and it's kind of their MO, right? This is the 4th time Tyrese has a game winner in the series. OKC comes roaring back. I guess, Vegas was right. 11.5. It started at 9. It went to 10. It went to 10.5. Went 11.5. Might have got to 12. When it was live, it was all the way up to 15 and 16. So OKC kind of took care of business in game 2. And what do we know? We said it last week. Indiana loses all game 3. So we kind of have to wait and see here as the show's going along. We're recording how well Indiana comes out, because they were abysmal in game 2 and they can't afford to be down, I think, because Tyrese even came out himself and said this is the best defense he's ever seen in his young career. So that says a lot. But we know these Indiana Pacers this year in particular, coached by Rick Carlisle, always have a shot. Championship coach on the sideline. They're playing at that level. They believe in themselves. They believe no lead is big enough. And they have OKC on the other side with the MVP. The biggest thing OKC has going for them right now is they've played incredible basketball on the road as well. I think they only had one bad game against Denver, and they didn't show up against Minnesota in game 3, I believe. Other than that, they played great ball on the road. So, I mean, it's quality basketball, right? And I think a lot of people are worried about, like, are we going to get a good product? Of course, you're going to get a product like Both of these teams are playing at an extremely, extremely high level. So when you have that, either whether it's offensive, defensive, and you have a taste of both, at least you feel like we probably got what we wanted this year, right? Because the Pacers, and people don't realize this, and we said this about a month ago, the only team that matched their record down the stretch was the Cavs, right? Other than OKC, we're talking about in the East. Mm-hmm. So if the Pacers were keeping pace with the Cavs, who they beat, they started off slow, and we say this all the time in other sports, is how you finish the season. No surprise there. And you and I both had OKC in the finals. And you, I believe, had OKC winning. Are you sticking to that prediction?
Yeah, no, I think I still have OKC winning. I just think they feel like that team of destiny this year that just kind of built themselves to win. And we said it in the final, like going into the finals last year, how, hey, this is like, Dallas is playing well, and obviously Denver played well, and you always got to kind of watch Golden State. But we've kept saying the last year or two, watch out for OKC. They're building something very quickly with a lot of good young players.
Well, I love Chet from his high school days. Yeah. And you guys, Chet's ridiculous. Wait till he gets to college, and all plays. Of course, Gonzaga swallowed him up early. So
and we saw SGA get better as we expected. Jalen Williams got better as we expected.
Yeah.
Chet. That's the thing, is like this team is a team of just guys that are all getting better together. And so I think it all culminates this year, and I think they're still going to win the title.
And Wallace and Dort are both defensive specialists, smaller guys, but I mean, they're on the ball all the time. Dort shoots the ball well from the corner. He hits that corner three. But once Wallace starts to develop a bit of an offensive game, that's what they need, right? I kind of see Wallace as, let's say, we spoke about him last week on the show. Of course, he's not that much of a threat as someone like a Livingston, but if he could get those shots, because he's going to have room because nobody's going to pay attention to him, find the high percentage place on the court. If he could do that at any point in this series over. But if he does that for them next year, we've seen that even though teams aren't winning back-to-back, teams are getting back to the finals. So teams are getting back to the conference semifinals, and they're competing for another shot again. I don't see OKC falling off at all. But, really great basketball in the sense of it's been exciting to see teams play at a high level. Not very exciting basketball in terms of the games of being close. So let's see what game 3 brings to us. Talk about not close. After 2 overtime games to start up the Stanley Cup, we're in for a treat. What the hell happened in game 3?
I mean, it was the Oilers' past issues kind of rearing their ugly heads, as far as we've talked so many times about how this Edmonton Oilers team is obviously an offensive powerhouse. They have the best player in the world and possibly the second or third best player in the world, Leon Draisaitl. And so that's an unstoppable offense, especially when you pair them with a experienced playoff performer like a Corey Perry, old man Perry, as I continue to refer to him on Twitter, because he's old, but he just keeps putting himself in the right position to make McDavid and Draisaitl better and get himself a goal every once in a while, get himself points and things like that. But it was defense. They weren't clearing the net front. They allowed Florida much, much too heavy of a net front presence, which Florida loves. They love playing physical. They love, being in front of the net and goaltending play. We had spoken about how it was going to be a serious factor if Stuart Skinner did not step his game up and maybe not match Bobrovsky, because that's a lot. Asking anyone to match Sergei Bobrovsky's performance and ability is a lot. He's one of the best goalies, and possibly, and my dad said this on the phone to me the other day, possibly making himself one of the best postseason goalies ever, as far as his ability to just take his teams on a run. But Skinner just.
But look, it's their third Stanley Cup in a row. Why not?
Yeah, 100%.
Going back to what your dad said, why not? That's a great point, right? There's not that many goalies that could say, I did this for 3 years in a row, right?
Right.
So when you have the luxury of having that as part of your resume, you have to immediately be in the conversation of, you have to be one of the biggest reasons why your team keeps competing in the playoffs to have another shot to win a Stanley Cup. Now, we saw them do this in the Carolina series, and they win a game 5-2 or 6-2, where they really opened it up. And from that point, they took control of the series, right? So I guess right now, Edmonton fans, cause for concern was we won a game. Are we about to go down 3-1? And even if we go down 3-1, should they even be concerned because they've been there, done that before? Or can they win 3 in a row against who you say right now is the best goalie in hockey?
I would normally say that if they go down 3-1, there's no way they're coming back, but they legit did it last year. And this is, like I said, I think a better Oilers team. Bottom line is they have to play better defense in the games coming ahead. And Stuart Skinner has to play better in goal. Yes, you're going to have to make difficult saves. This is the Stanley Cup Finals. This team is not, you're not playing the Sharks in the middle of April. Like this is, or middle of February. Like this is a good team with good players that is the reigning Stanley Cup champions. You're going to have to make tough stops. So yeah, you have to play better. I'm putting all 6 goals on Skinner. There was a lot of occasions where the defense needed to be better, like I said, and clear out the net front and allow him to see the puck better and be in a better position. But at some point, you got to make a stop, like flat out. And I know I've heard multiple head coaches in this situation say the same thing. Sometimes we just need a stop. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know Connor McDavid has probably attempted to rally the troops at this point. Will it work? We'll see. But bottom line is that was, I think, the worst Oilers performance you're going to see. And I don't know if you're going to see it again this series, which is an optimistic mindset for the Oilers. But I think being what we saw last year, I think they'll step up and at least be competitive, but it's not going to be an easy road to beat Florida.
I think you're being a fan. I think you want to see good hockey. I think for your sake, you're like, I don't want them to go down 3-1. At that point, it's almost, foreseen, but teams have come back from 3-1. I don't know what the percentage is. I imagine it's less than 15% of the time, maybe even less than 10% of the time, right? And in modern history, it might be even less than that. So this team's blueprint's a lot like the Lightning was, right? They're too balanced everywhere. They have multiple lines that can attack. So if you're going against a team who's leaky and they're shown to be leaky, you can't just all of a sudden turn things around. To me, it's like you're exposed, and whether you want to tighten things up or not, and you decide, okay, we're going to play a different style. It's not your style. Now you're playing their style of hockey. Advantage Florida. So I feel that was a statement game that they might not be able to rebound from. I'm like you. For my sake, I would love to see a Game 7 again in that series because I thought the Game 7 last year was highly entertaining and it was a great game. And who doesn't want to see a Game 7? I don't know if we're going to get it in the NBA, but let's hope we get it in the Stanley Cup Finals because, I guess it'll also hold true to what you and John keep saying every time, which is there's everything else and then there's the Stanley Cup Finals, right? So perhaps it'll
nothing like playoff hockey.
Nothing like playoff hockey.
Nothing like playoff hockey. So with the finals, Jay, actually something I've noticed is in the NBA, there seems to be a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot of, actually a lack of foul calls, especially in early games. They're letting them play, which is great, except for when you see an obvious guy, like a guy obviously get knocked out of the air and they don't call anything. On the other side, the Stanley Cup Finals, to me, has been very tightly officiated in the sense of there's a team, especially in that last game, despite Florida winning 6-1, it's because they went on the power play a bunch of times. I swear there was a penalty every 3 minutes or something.
And that's how game 2 was as well. But it's obvious, Mike, there's a glitch in the matrix. Hockey's basketball and basketball is hockey. Who created that glitch in the matrix? Right? Was it Adam Silva who was like, I want people to see that our players are tough? And then who made it happen in the NHL? Let's kind of slow the game down a little bit. Or once we have people off the ice and the game is to one side advantage, lots of goals equals, maybe we'll get audiences to watch our game because goals are fun. You never know. I'm not saying that anything's fixed, guys. Don't take me as I'm saying things are fixed. Take it like this. They have a way of almost deciding we're going to get this and we want this. And that's what all the rule changes are for. And that's what everything else that comes along with revolutionizing the sport is for, is if it's not entertaining enough, your sponsors would like to go try NASCAR, golf, because golf's on the fly again, MLS, because the World Cup's coming here next year. Who knows? So you're playing a game, and the game is my product has to be not good, great. For your product to be great, it shifted a long time ago. Despite what the purists think, you need to have scoring. And once you have scoring, then you probably have a shot. Now, what I mean is, what you have a shot of? You have a shot of getting people to watch the damn game because that's the end goal, right? They're going to stream it from every damn place they could possibly stream it from. It's not just about TV ratings anymore. right? Most of your sales are going to happen right away because people are streaming more than sitting in front of their TV watching anything anyway. So that's where they want people to direct their attention to. Stream, be on your phone, do something where the habit is, buy something right now. Our product's great. We brought you to this product. Hey, yay, cheer for my freaking sport. Here's the only thing, and you and I said it, and it's the biggest crock of shit so far this year. Referee this, one thing's soft, one thing's that. Too much time in between the games. So for that sake, you just have to let everybody play hard, right? Because they're all rested. You agree?
I mean, I'm a personal opinion that a day in between is enough. If you really want to give a day off after a game, which do we really need it? Like, but I mean, I guess hockey maybe because it's a more physical sport, but still, okay, fine. If you wanna go every other day with each other, you don't want to be on the same day. That's fine. But why do we need 2 full days between primetime game days? So essentially 3 days before the next game. Especially when we're not traveling. Like if it's a travel, fine, give a travel day. That's fine. I get it because especially like Indiana to OKC, a little bit of a time change there. Edmonton to Florida, a whole big time change there. I get it. Jet lag, all those kinds of things. Fine.
No jet lag on private jets. Come on now. That they know how to get over that. It's easy. You stay up for 3 hours. You go to bed at the time. It's easy. It's not that much of jet lag. It's bullshit is what it is. They're trying to stretch the series out. They're trying to keep people interested. This whole thing that happened with, and I'm sure you have an opinion on it with the Knicks now, they're trying to keep people just interested in the NBA in itself. The NHL doesn't really have a storyline off the ass right now. And that's one thing I like about the NHL. They don't search outside of what the best part of their product is supposed to be, which is keep the attention here. I know you don't control GMs, and I know you don't control decisions. So the Knicks are going to make that decision regardless. I guess we'll talk at some point about how stupid it is because they should have had a higher replace. But inevitably, I feel where we're getting to here is, do you feel like the way the games are being called is fair to the fans? Because the expectation is the opposite way now, right? So all of a sudden, basketball fans are happy and hockey fans are pissed off. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that's the energy you're getting from the finals and Stanley Cup? Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily. I think it's just kind of a reflection of how I'm feeling watching at home. Is like we have a whistle every minute and a half because there's another penalty. It's like, okay.
But that's not normal, right?
Especially
for Stanley Cup. That's not normal, right? I haven't watched it.
No, I mean, not for me. I mean, my favorite parts of Stanley Cup games are when the play is just going back and forth and flowing. And not so, I mean, if there's an egregious, like, bad penalty, I want it called. Like, if there's a bad high stick, fine, or tripping, or obvious tripping, or whatever. But, like, sometimes you get ticky-tack penalties that stop the game, and then we got to go to commercial break after the game, especially when, there's a challenge on, like, oh, that wasn't a penalty, or oh, it was offsides, or blah, blah, all those kind of things. Now we got to go to a commercial break. And now all of a sudden, from penalty call to puck drop after penalty call, it's been, almost 10 not in game, like real life minutes. It's like, you want people to stay invested. The casual fan, I don't know if they want to wait 10 minutes for the next freaking puck drop. Like,
so then what's your solution? So what's your solution?
Let them play. It's hockey. Like, this is supposed to be a physical game. Again, if it's obvious or if somebody's hurt, blow the whistle. But, like, come on. Like, we need to find the fine line of, like, or the correct definition of what roughing is.
So here's my thing, right? And It sounds like this to me. It sounds like you would rather have some kind of robo referee because you take the empathy out of it, right? And it's only detected to see whether or not, let's say, once there's blood, that's a 4-minute automatic. Once the player seems like they're disoriented, whatever, right? So basically saying you're going to program the robot to recognize behavioral traits where if there's a sudden shift from one behavior to the next, then the robot says, all right, we know what type of penalty this is, and we're calling it immediately because we can, quote unquote, detect it, because whether they missed it or not, they're using an algorithm to read the heart rate of the player and doing things that a human could never do to actually make a decision to say, yeah, that was a bad play, so you get penalized. So it kind of sounds like you think that might be a solution for hockey in itself, because like you said, it has to be almost obvious to make the call. But in some circumstances, it was a bad foul, like it was a bad play. But you didn't see, like you mentioned to me, a player taking his stick and grinding it into somebody's ribs and then skating off and then hitting him with a jab. And, well, you didn't see that. But the robot's going to detect a spike in the heart rate. Oh, what suddenly caused that? It could ruin the game. It could help the game. I mean, you tell me, Mikey, it sounds like you want robots on the ice.
I do not want robots on the ice.
Contrary to what sounds that way.
Contrary to what? No, I just want the humans to be better. I want the humans
better at what though? Making decisions. It's 50-50. Was it or wasn't it?
And I'm okay with some. I'm not saying I'm not okay with some human error.
Yeah.
Because that's it's life. I mean, you know, these things happen. It's just constant, and call it consistently, because that's a problem across sports. Is like things don't get called consistently. Why is it a penalty over here and not a penalty over here? So just, we've talked about it, like, and this goes to the NBA as well. If it's a foul or a penalty, it's a foul or penalty. So just call it. But don't in the first, so for hockey purposes, don't in the first period call everything. Then in the second period, call nothing. And then in the third period, pick and choose. Just make it consistent. Because for me as a fan, that is what I want. I want things to be consistent. And thinking about it from a coach or player perspective, I want to know how we can play.
But the just call it concept it sounds like they're going to have constant interruptions in the game anyway, because if both teams decide to be physical and there's an obvious physicality to the game, just call it sounds like a lot of whistles in the game. So you still don't solve the issue, because it's start, stop, and you take away from what we all want. We want a flow in the game. We want the game to be played, not little play, stop, little play, stop, little play, free throw, little play, free throw, free throw, free throw, free throw. Like we've seen the rhythm of the NBA sometimes where it's like, geez, like I don't feel like I'm watching basketball. Like I'm watching these refs dictate the flow of the game more than the players dictate the flow of the game. Let me give you a scenario here, right?
Yeah.
Here's a scenario. So you mentioned a little while ago saying the biggest problem is we're waiting 10 minutes in between puck drops. So you're killing everybody's interest, because most people might be like, well, thank God I had time to go take a piss and then throw something in the microwave and then start to eat it, or go grab a beer and, go outside for a little while, come back in, and shit, I didn't miss any game. Before I would have missed half a period if I did that. Maybe for some people, they like it, right? Go outside, smoke a cigar, like, oh, that was great. Like I can do that in an average game now and miss 1 minute because there's so much stoppage. So here's the thing. If that's the main issue, and would you agree, like if fans had to vote saying most of these changes and most of the instant replay and most of we need to help the humans get it right has resulted in a stoppage of play, right? You think that's probably what most fans are frustrated about?
I would think that would be the number one gripe from the wider group of fans, is just like, yes, now we're taking too long.
So then instead of the extreme, which would be let's replace them in robots, let's program the right robot to help with that area, because the robot can instant replay it immediately, because the robot sinks in on the ball. So it will never miss the action happening around the ball. You could also give it a multi-view lens where it's also seeing things peripherally, that it can read all the information almost instantaneously. So you program it to make a decision in 30 seconds, and then there's a 1 minute stoppage, because that's the job of the robot, is to help that part of the game. Do you agree with that technology maybe being introduced to football or basketball?
I do. I think if you got it right, if you tested it and got it right and really got it fine-tuned the way. So the example that comes to mind when you say that would be the automatic ball strike system in baseball, which is you challenge, it immediately just shows up and it's on the big board at the stadium. So like the fans can see it, the players can see it, the umps can see it, and it just tells you whether it was a ball or strike.
Tennis does it too, right? It goes in, out. When they're showing the instant replay, you look on the screen, the ball's in slow-mo, out. All fan cheers, or the fans don't cheer, right? They boo.
And isn't the Premier League trying to find the right way to do it?
Well, they do it. They use like a laser system where it follows the players and then they freeze it, and it's a VAR system, right? So a video system replay. So it'll break it down to see. We know one of the biggest things in football they have to make sure with soccer is happening is players aren't offside when the ball is played, because that's an unfair advantage. So you have to take that unfair advantage away, or else it'll be golazo, golazo, golazo nonstop with the skill these players have to have literally half a foot of room is like, damn, I'll score 50 goals a season if I have half a foot of room. So yeah, its purpose has helped the game because refs don't have to worry about, did I get that call right? And shit, some of these refs also would get freaking death threats based on whatever country's games they're reffing as well, right? Shit is real in some sports. It's not like that in some American sports, but in international sports, especially soccer, it gets real. So it's even to the point where it's like, yeah, let's stop people themselves from hating on humans that have to make a choice. That's what they're left with. I have to make a choice. Was it or wasn't it? And that's what they face all the time. So let's have some assistance. Hey, this is your job, right? Okay, need your help. Boom, activate robot. Robot is not deciding whether or not the penalty will stand. We'll have a decision in 1 minute. Everybody has 1 minute, loosen up, boom, you come back in 1 minute. Everybody could dig that. Can you imagine how much time we get back of our lives? Because we watch a lot of freaking sports, bro. Can you imagine how much time of our lives we get wasted?
Well, that like the offsides thing in VAR alone could be implemented in the NHL because we literally have the lines painted on the ice. So you could have like lasers going down center ice and the blue lines and the goal lines. You could have lasers going on all of them. Tell whether it's offsides, whether it's icing, whether it, like anything having to do with the lines. You could pick up the penalties. That penalties and fouls is where it's kind of, that would be a difficult thing for like the automatic system if you had like an overhead like Skycam or drone robot to do it. That's a little, because then again you're putting judgment on the robots as opposed to, I think the judgment we can leave with the human officials. I don't want to go AI or robot like judgment calls.
Okay.
Because that takes away from the sport in a way. But yeah, those particular out of bounds, offsides, backcourt violation, things like that, first downs, all those in football and all those kinds of things. I think measurement is how I would describe it. Any measurement call, I think assistance would save us so much time.
Yeah. And that's what we're looking for. We're just looking to make sure that the quality of the game remains. And for us, like, we're going to watch anyway. We say that all the time. But if you can give if you can give a lot of the fans who just love a good quality game the assurance that it's going to be a good quality game, then those fans would probably want to tell more people, hey, you need to watch this. And they won't be so disgruntled about the change in the sport. And they won't be so unhappy about how things have changed for the worse, right? But we do have some things that have kind of changed for the better, right? And I feel like some of the stuff they've done has changed for the better. Maybe giving teams a timeout to be like, hey, man, that call was way too obvious. If we lose this possession, we might lose the game. I have to challenge that because you just swayed the game possibly with that decision. I feel the one challenge, like I feel like every sport, it shouldn't be in this half. You have to be strategic enough as a coach to be like, this is the one that and that's the gamble. This is the one that might lose us the game. Or this is the one that might win us the game if we get to keep this possession. Right. So I feel if you just reduce it to one, I think that served this purpose a little bit. But, it's going to happen. We see it happening in small ways in different sports. They're going to keep introducing it because at the end of the day, don't we want these freaking guys to retire and enjoy the sport from a fan perspective? I mean, these guys are under so much stress having to deal with, policing and refereeing the game. Let them enjoy the damn freaking game and not have to worry, right? So maybe it fails miserably. Maybe it does, which means we just go back to some humans on the ice or humans on the field.
But we tried.
Yeah. So
but we tried.
Well, here's what we're going to do this week. Mike always has something on his mind. I just want to take a little bit of time to tell you two things I have on my mind, and that is two sensational females stealing the headlines completely all week. We start on Sunday with Miss Coco Gauff, and she is it was actually late Saturday because of the time difference. And once again, she's playing Sabalenka, the number one player in the world, and she played her a couple years ago when she won her first Grand Slam in Flushing Meadows, in Queens, in New York. It's Coco Gauff, the young American coming up, 15 years old when she made her debut. And what does she do to Sabalenka? Same damn thing that she did in New York. She loses the first set and she comes back to win and take her second major title. But here's how that really happened. And some of you non-tennis fans probably would never know something like this. Coco Gauff is actually an incredible doubles player, and she's played with the number one player in the world, has been high as the number one doubles player in the world, highest singles ranking too. She's probably going to be up there going into Wimbledon. Super excited for that. But she made the semifinals of the Australian and the French last year in doubles. She also made the semis in the French in singles last year, and she won doubles last year in the French. So she knows how to win or knew how to win in Roland Garros already. So it's not like she didn't know how to go into that stadium, into that environment and say, I know how to win here. And sometimes we saw Serena and Venus do it. Just being able to go into that environment, just because it's doubles doesn't mean it's not a championship mentality and you get to earn that. So congratulations to Coco and her team. She worked with her dad growing up. She worked with Brad Gilbert and some of the great coaches. I believe she's going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next couple of years. There should be a great battle between her and Sabalenka again at the U.S. Open this year if they both don't get injured. Wimbledon's wide open too. So congrats, Coco. That's number 2. I'm pretty sure you're going to be up to number 5 or 6, 4 or 5 years from now. And when we're still on and we really hit it, we'd love to have you on because she's also an advocate for just being a good human being. She's an advocate for a lot of the right things. Wise beyond her years, 21 years old. Congrats, Coco, for doing your thing. And my other sensational female stealing the headlines, none other than the new summer sensation in sports, Summer McIntosh. It's summertime, and it's summer because she started off at the Canadian Nationals, not 1, but 2 world records in the 400 IM and the 400 freestyle. I mean, incredible swim. You're talking about being under 30 seconds on every single split in your 400. Swimmers, if you're out there, go ahead and comment and tell me that's ridiculous. You guys know how ridiculous that is. Then she turns around and beats the 200 IM, excuse me, not the 4 IM. It's hers already, the 200 IM world record that the Iron Lady herself, Katinka Hoshku from Hungary, had since 2015. I got to see that go down in Kazan, Russia. It was an incredible swim, and Summer's beating it, and Summer is on fire right now. I can't wait for World Championships this summer because it is going to be the summer show. We're not too sure if Leon Masha is back to himself where he's going to steal the headlines and do some sensational things himself, but it's going to be the summer. I tell you what, man, if someone's doing that 800 free, you guys better want to stay tuned to the World Champs because it might be a showdown with Ledecky, and maybe Ariana might be in that race too. And boy, are we in for something special where distance might actually be what everybody wants to see at the World Champs this year. So congrats, Summer. Congrats, Coco. That's what's on my mind. 2 young 20, 21, 19, 20, 21-year-olds taking the world over in their sports. Represent for the young ones. Represent for the females. You guys are simply sensational champions. And that's what's on my mind, Mikey. I need to steal a little bit of your time. But, you know, it's your segment, so go ahead, man.
Well, before I begin telling you what's on my mind, please, everybody comment and let us know whether you want us to start doing Jamie's places where he talks about all the different places he's been, because he just subtly dropped that he's been to Kazan, Russia, which is, and I've off camera heard a lot of different places. So let us know if you'd like to hear that. But what I have on my mind this week, we are reaching the end of the NBA season. And so I've collected a little bit of some of my favorite stories. I got 4 of them. Some of my favorite stories from the NBA's past. Okay. Magic Johnson was once fined for tampering after complimenting Giannis Antetokounmpo. The compliment in question was actually just that he would win Milwaukee a championship someday.
What?
So it had nothing to do with the Lakers or LA, and it was when the reason was it was when he was like really like being hands-on with the Lakers. And yeah.
There's
he
a
just
reason
said you're
his
gonna
name is Magic.
Take you back to a time when the Cavs once traded a good chunk of their roster in a complete turnover of their team. In one season, they traded Isaiah Thomas, Derrick Rose, Jay Crowder, Channing Frye, Dwayne Wade, and Iman Shumpert, and brought in Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood, and George Hill.
Terrible trade.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
You get
notice I just mentioned them getting rid of multiple All-Stars.
Yes.
Speaking of the Cavs, they also once suspended J.R. Smith. Why? It was for 1 game after he threw soup on assistant coach Damon Jones.
Once teammate of his?
Apparently.
The soup's gone bad.
The soup has gone bad. No soup for you.
No soup.
Finally, KCP, Kentavious Caldwell Pope. He once got a DUI in Detroit, Michigan, and was sentenced the following year to 25 days in jail. Meanwhile, he signed with the LA Lakers. A work release program ended up allowing him to go play in games, but he had to wear an ankle monitor and couldn't go on the road because he could not legally leave the state of California.
A true hero to those in jail dreaming about their their dreams of being a baller. Way to go.
Way to go, KCP. So, yes, that is what I was on my mind this week. But you know what else I've kind of been thinking about?
What's that?
So, NBA, NHL, we've got the finals going on, but that's not the only thing happening in those sports, right?
Yeah.
We've got multiple teams hiring and firing coaches. Most recently in the NHL, the Dallas Stars firing Pete DeBoer for some reason. And the New York Knicks, the more popular one, have fired Tom Thibodeau. We've spoken about that before. But that begged the question to me, Jamie, would you rather, if you had the choice, coach in a big market or a small market?
Such a good question. And I was pondering all week long, what are the pros of both? And not even focusing on the cons, because if I get to be a pro coach, that's just a pro all by itself, right?
Right.
But they talk about so many of the cons that come with being in markets that just eat you alive, whether you're successful or not. And maybe that's the curse of certain New York sports themselves. Like, other than your Giants early 20-teens success, it's been a shit show, for New York football for almost 25 years, right? So is that because single-handedly it's just so much pressure? Because you said it to me, the expectation is win. If you're in LA, the expectation is win. If you're in Boston, the expectation is win, right? So, and also, what's big market? It depends on the sports, right? I mean, Alabama's a big market for college football. So, it's really expansive to like what you consider to be the big market itself within that sport. So more, do I want the responsibility of coaching for a market that expects all or nothing? And probably not, because I like the underdog story. Right? I like taking a group of misfits more than I like being able to buy whoever I want and figuring out how to get this person to play within the confines of what we think is winning basketball or winning filling the blank, whatever that sport is. So I don't know if I would want that big job. I feel like it would be fun to give it a go. It'd be fun to be like, hey, I got to be the Knicks head coach and my career took me here. Like, this organization believed in me. That itself, whether or not you're successful or not, might be a boost to what you were meant to do next. And that might be, somebody's assistant whose team is highly successful and you're the missing ingredient. And people don't give assistant coaches enough credit. They're a huge part of a team's success. So I feel like it would also piggyback me to maybe a better opportunity if it didn't work out as well. So I wouldn't be afraid of it. I would probably just prefer doing the smaller market coach or having that job as opposed to being in a big market as a coach.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think, especially if I'm a new head coach, if I'm taking my first head coach position, I would almost rather be in a small market because, just in those big markets, your LAs, your New Yorks, your Bostons across all sports, and then, Dallas in some sports and Miami in some sports, things like that. Like, even though Miami's a big market in the sense of the city, but not a big market. We've spoken before, not a big market as far as expectations of their sports. But you don't get that time. And you and I are both guys that are big on team building and culture and things like that when it comes to a coaching philosophy, which is why we get along so well when it comes to that. But you don't have that time in the bigger markets because of expectation.
But I mean, maybe we're not looking for the blueprint that's happened in certain places already, right? Because we think a lot about like, what's happened over here in America, and it's okay. Well, there's a world of sports going on there, and like, have we seen it maybe like somewhere else? So you have Luis Enrique, who decided like, I'm going to change the entire way that PSG looks at their culture. So we just got rid of our last star, right? Like Neymar is no longer, like, we don't have any more stars on our team, really, where we have players that are now becoming the rising stars of global football because of their success all of a sudden, right? Young Portuguese players and young Brazilian players. So you have the right core of players all of a sudden, and you do have that big market because everybody, all eyes on that team, like Paris Saint-Germain is the team. They're expected to do well in European, championship play and stuff like that. And it worked. So is it more that it can't work in certain sports? Because we saw it work in, with Paris Saint-Germain this year, because for once it's like a team who has the money and has always had the money said, we're not going to do that. Okay. We're not playing that game anymore. We're going to play it our way because coach said he could win, and it worked. And we don't see it work that often. Right. So maybe we have to look elsewhere for this blueprint. Maybe it's taking this big market job and saying, okay, I want 4 young hard workers and a superstar to balance them up. Yeah. That's kind of how Milwaukee won their championship, right? I mean, you could say all you want about Middleton, but he wasn't nothing more than perhaps having a flirt of an all-star type year going towards the playoffs. Yeah, he did go, but he's the last guy on the roster for the East, you would think. You know what I mean? So he's not like that impactful of a player to go along with it. So that's a great question. And, but at some point, right, isn't it when you're offered in your career as well? If you're towards the twilight of your career, right, you don't want the small market anymore, do you? Or do you?
No. And so that was my thought process, was if I'm a new head coach, I might prefer a smaller market to be able to kind of cut my teeth as a head coach, build who I am as a head coach and show people who I am, having that time and being able to take those guys and like a Chris Middleton and go, look how I'm a good coach, because look how good I can get Chris Middleton to be in this system with these guys, all that. But yes, at a certain point, I feel like you do reach that point in your career where if I am the Bucks coach in that situation, hypothetically, right, I win a title. And then we kind of, what has happened, and we kind of get older, and, the deep bench guys, the big impact role players leave and they get their big deals and go elsewhere. I might be sitting there this year and going, man, that Knicks job sounds good.
Yeah.
They got a lot of good players, and I think I can do it. I mean, obviously, if you don't have the confidence you have to have the confidence to think you can do it. And I think what I can do can help them win.
Putting you on the spot. Who's I? Who is that I? Who I is going to help the Knicks win, Michael?
Michael Malone.
2
years ago, he won an NBA title.
That's it. So that's it. Nobody else is going to move the needle faster than him right now.
Faster? No. I think the only other option that I know, because first of all, side note, Knicks, stop trying to just steal other people's head coaches.
Why?
Go Stealing get because no one's going to let you. I don't understand. The thing is, you're going after all.
So you could have my coach for $10 billion.
No, I mean, seriously, are we surprised that they're saying no? So
is it shameful that the Knicks played that card and it seems like it's a slap in the face?
Yeah, that you didn't have a plan other than, well, someone at some point will give us their head coach, right? No.
Well, I'm stealing your guy. I love Mark Jackson for the role.
I like Mark Jackson. I don't know if, because he's been out so long, I don't know if he moves the needle as fast as the Knicks want him to. I would love the hire. Don't get me wrong.
I feel he's also very tied to his ministry still, where it probably won't work out, which is why no team said I can agree to your terms, right?
That's probably a factor. He should still, the fact that he's not getting interviews is the problem.
Yeah.
The fact that nobody's even talking to him.
Yeah.
Because who knows if Mark Jackson wants to, for all we know, Mark Jackson might not want to get back into coaching.
Yeah.
He just might not be interested. But we don't know that because we don't hear anybody even speaking to him, even in a casual conversation about being a coach. But as far as guys that are currently available, I mean, Malone's always been my first choice, but probably Budenholzer would be the next highest needle mover on the list for me.
Yeah.
Because again, he's got a pattern of success. I believe he was the Bucks coach, was he not?
Coaching.
Right. He was the Bucks coach, wasn't he? When they won? Yeah. So title 2 years ago, title 4 or 5 years ago?
Yep.
So, I mean, you've got 2 prime options. And for Malone, used to coaching a big man that can do a little bit of everything too. Granted, I'm not saying Cat is Jokic. I'm not. Cat's a good player.
Pull the plug on this one, people. We're pulling the plug. Don't even, just don't. Stop while you're ahead.
But
stop. Just watch the water go down the drain.
Watch the water go down the drain. Yeah. I'm not saying that, but I digress. So we could take the coaching side, right? Take your coach's hat off. Now put your player hat on. We've all got favorite teams, right?
Mhm.
I mean, there's no denying we're very obvious about who our, just look in our backgrounds right now, you'll see who our favorite teams are. Which means we all have rivals. We all have teams we vehemently root against. So, in a hypothetical situation where you are offered a contract, right? Would you outright reject playing for your team's biggest rival? Pick a team, pick a rival, whichever sport you'd want to play. Because we've had the issues. Not issues. They're not really issues, but we've had young players who grew up big fans, most recently the pitcher for the Red Sox, saying he grew up a Red Sox fan. He would, if the Yankees were the last team to ever exist, he would just retire. He would not play for the New York Yankees. Ken Griffey Jr. said the same thing because of how they treated his dad and treated him when his dad was a Yankee. So would you outright reject it?
First meeting, absolutely. I'm walking out of the room. Second meeting, we're probably meeting at a gun range with the target having that team on the target. Third meeting, I probably calm down enough to entertain the conversation of why is this a good move? Fourth meeting, I've been picked on by my friends and mates enough to know that this might be the worst career move of my life. Fifth meeting, this is why I have to say you can kiss my ass because I ain't playing for them.
Oh, really?
Nope, not doing it. I'm a loyal fan, right? Like I stuck with Liverpool and my dad introduced me to them, right? I probably would have stuck with the Niners, but I feel like they did Joe Montana real dirty, even though I really love Steve Young. And, when my sister moved here to Tampa, I was like, I never got a chance to be in a city where I knew anybody that I was going to go see often in an American city or state that I could have a team that I could actually get behind because I was going to be in this place a couple times a year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first time in my life, I was like, I can adopt a team. That's in the mid-90s when they sucked. So I'm riding out with them. When Kentucky became my team, I'm not selling out Kentucky because I don't go there anymore. I transfer, like, that's my basketball team. So I'm that's my nature with my teams, right? Like, yes, with basketball, it's probably been without Seattle, my lonely heart is broken for the NBA for a very long time. No, I'm kidding. But, I do like quality basketball more than I like a team, right, when it comes to the NBA. But I don't know, man. I just couldn't. I really couldn't. And you're going to be like, what if they threw you $500 million?
Well, yeah, that is the what if.
There's no first, second, third, fourth, and fifth meeting. My agent is knocking me out. Okay,
and
before
signing.
the first meeting, lifting my hand up and doing that. So on camera, it looked like my hand signed. Yourself?
I mean, yeah, it would. I mean, obviously, it would take a contract of that magnitude.
Of what magnitude? You will play catcher for the Red Sox if you signed a blank year, blank deal.
Give me Ohtani and Soto's deals. Give me $700 million plus.
Jesus, you need the max to do it. So you would turn down 500 to play for the Red Sox?
No, I'm
going to keep going lower. Would you turn down 250?
Is there anybody else offering me a deal?
I don't care who's offering a deal. You have to say yes to turning down $250 million.
If that's the highest they're paying me, then yeah, I'll take it.
No, you're turning down the Red Sox regardless of whether they're the highest or not. Because at the end of the day, the other two teams can be shitty and they're never going to make the playoffs. But they have the money. You turn down the Red Sox who can make the playoffs. So you can be playing playoff baseball.
Yes.
For $250, you turn them down.
Yeah.
So that's your price. $250 and $1. Mikey's going price for the Red Sox, ladies and gentlemen. If you know this Yankees fan, $250 million and $1.
Yes, I will sign with anybody else. And it's just
for two Tic Tacs, some Skittles, some mouthwash. I'll side with the Marlins over the Red Sox.
Yep. And if it's the Yankees, how much do I have to pay you to let me play for you?
Oh, true. Yeah.
It's like
I'll donate my salary for life. What was that? All $1,000 a month? Sold.
I'll wash dishes on off days if I have.
That's a good question. If the organization said you get to choose the field you work in, but it's maintenance work, or like maintenance as in keeping the stadium looking clean, good, up, up to date. That's the only way you get into this organization, right? Doesn't matter the salary.
Right. Yeah.
What position are you on? I know you're trying to make it on the field. So what do you want to do?
Trying to make it on the field, like trying to play?
No, I mean, you just want to be on the field. You don't want to be in the crew that's stuck underneath the fucking stands working on the electric boxes. So everybody, everybody can have lights over their seats. You know what I mean? Like, so where are you on the field there? Right. So I'm turning the whole thing around there, as opposed to like, now your team that you hate is the only team that's like, yeah, we'll give you a shot. You can come work at our ballpark. Are you taking it because you get to be at a ballpark, right? That's your work, is like you're at a ballpark, kind of watching games. Yeah. And if you're taking it, what position are you choosing?
Oh, I'm 100% taking it, because I'm enough of a baseball fan that I would love to.
So you gotta wear that shit all the time, though, right?
Whatever. I get to be around baseball.
So here's the dichotomy here. You would rather take a Red Sox job for whatever amount of money, cleaning the stadium, than play for the Red Sox for less than $250 million.
Well, yeah, because if I know what the going rate is for any given position I have. If I'm a player, you're gonna pay me, because players get paid. Now, as far as what role I would choose, and it's got to be like it's like a blue collar maintenance type of. Grounds crew.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, be the grounds crew easy. Yeah. You kidding me? Like, I get to work on the field.
What was the crazy stat about the guys that are in charge of like the Augusta and certain courses getting paid some ridiculous amount of money?
Oh yeah.
Right. Do you feel it's the same for the head of the grounds crews of baseball teams and stadiums?
Not as much.
Okay.
But I know they get it. They get
a nice little coin.
Yeah, especially because like grounds crew of an MLB stadium, especially these days, like they're hosting a lot of different events. So it's not just, it's a mostly in-season job, but I do think there is stuff, especially if you're like the head of the grounds crew, like you got to keep it looking nice. And the Northeastern ones, like you got to keep it looking, nice. Cause like the weather we know is going to be havoc on the field. So you have to kind of be present. So yeah, I think that would be, if I were to work in like a blue collar type of job for a baseball team, it would, grounds crew would be great. Plus, if I'm the Yankees grounds crew, I get to sing and dance because they do a show when they come.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that probably sounds like ideal. So you guys tell us, would you rather work for your rival team in a low-paying job because you're embarrassed to put the uniform on? It's like you'll never hear from it ever again, or you're like, forget about it. Give me the money. I don't care what the color of the uniform is. I'm playing for that team. Tell us in the comments which way you would go. I'm sure a lot of you would be like, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. Mikey, you just turned down $250 million. You better have that bankroll, my guy. Now, saw this post the other day that said, what the hell are they feeding these kids? And it was these teenage kids playing rugby in South Africa that looked like some grown-ass men. It got me thinking, damn, that must be a really freaking hard sport to play. If you already look like a monster at 15 or 16, and I've seen how big these guys are, you're literally playing NFL players without pads, right? Like that's what we said about the sport a lot. And we got to kind of talking and saying, maybe we should have a little debate or a little showdown here on what we think the 5 toughest sports to play are. So we're going to do it one by one style, right, Mikey? We're going to go down from 5 to 1.
We'll go down from 5 to 1.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you start here because apparently you said I'm going to be very surprised by your list. So I think you might be surprised by some of my picks too. So let's see. Let's take it over.
Well, we're just gonna kick it off with my number 5, which may cause a great debate here. Number 5, professional wrestling. Yes, it's a sport. I will stand by this until the day I die. It is a sport because have you seen what these people do? And yes, there is technical aspects to it, just like amateur wrestling. I get it. It's a TV show also, but with all the commercials and advertisers and, halftime shows and things like that, so is a lot of sports.
Yeah.
And the amount of wear and tear and injuries, and I mean, these guys are going through tables and ladders. And
bro, who's the little Mexican wrestler we watched the other day? That dude was insane.
Which one?
The one dude that was he did like the double backflip off the ropes.
Oh,
yeah. He's the champion.
El Hijo Vikingo.
Hero de Vikingo,
The
my
son of
guy. That
Viking,
dude was
essentially.
sick. I would watch a
Yeah.
match by him any day.
Oh, yeah, he's very good.
No, skills, top level. I might have to agree with Mikey that's a blend of gymnastics. It's a blend of almost like having the explosivity of a track and field jumping athlete. I mean, the guy is an incredible athlete. So wrestling, professional wrestling is your number 5.
Professional wrestling's my number 5.
Okay, my number 5, and you would have never guessed this. Downhill slalom skiing. That shit is ridiculous. Your body is diagonally parallel to the ground where your shoulder is almost making contact. And then you have to bounce off of that at 60 miles an hour and cut another corner with just as much drastic freaking edge on your skis. Unbelievable athleticism for them to be able to do it at that speed and still move through the slalom course as designed. So I got a ton of respect for people who can ski downhill at that speed, far less hit targets nonstop in weaving patterns going down that hill.
Yeah, someone that has never been able to ski or snowboard and barely can sled, keeping their balance. Yeah, more power to anybody that can do that, especially at the speeds they go. Like, it's insane. Actually, next time we watch downhill slalom skiing, people like next Olympics, watch how fast they're going. It's insane. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So my number 4, you actually mentioned it in the prelude to this list. It is rugby.
Rugas.
Went to St. Bonaventure.
Yeah.
With John, and we got to see the rugby team there. That's been actually one of their more successful programs athletically. Well, they've won national championships and stuff. And that I watched a woman back in college, watched a women's rugby match.
Yeah.
Where I literally watched a girl get her knee dislocated on the field. And they had to stop the match and bring a ambulance down to the field to take her off the field because they literally couldn't move her.
And she returned 20 minutes later.
And yeah, she came back 20 minutes later, scored a bunch of tries, and then kicked with that leg, and her leg was just flailing. No, but it's an insanely physical sport that just, you're really putting your body on the line whenever you play it. So
as the universe might have it, I also went with rugby as my 4th for many reasons that you say, but I also see that how tough the game is. When you look at sevens become such an open field. Now they're just running like crazy to try and chase somebody down, which ups the ante even more because the pace of the game becomes even faster. So to what you said on top of that as well, with sevens kind of being more, like we said, sports has to evolve until we want more scoring, we want more entertainment. Rugby's is a freaking tough man's game. And I have a buddy who plays that says, you don't come out the game unless it's an ambulance, almost like it has to be an ambulance situation or a clear broken wrist. Hey, you got one other wrist. It has to be a lower extremity because you cannot move,
Right. Yeah.
All right. So we both got rugby.
Yep.
For our 4.
Number 3, and you can attest to this more than anybody else. It is swimming. I want people to start putting a little bit more respect, the universal fan, to put a little more respect on swimming's name. You don't really know how difficult it is unless you do it. And obviously you did it at a higher level than I did. But even at the level that I did it 4 years in high school, you use muscles you didn't know you had.
Yep.
To propel yourself through. And yes, it's water, but there's a lot of resistance to it. There's a lot of potential for really bad injuries. You can really mess up your shoulders, your hips, your knees, your ankles. It's your neck. Like, it's very possible to have some very serious injuries.
A lot of damage all over your body.
You can do a lot of damage.
Yep.
And it is incredibly difficult. Once you reach a certain point in your career, you get fast enough, it becomes incredibly difficult to achieve anything higher because it's all about time. And anything really based on time is hard to master.
Needless to say, the long-term effects of being in the chlorine an
There's that
extreme
too.
amount of chlorinated water
Yes.
for long periods of time in your life. So
I still slightly smell like chlorine when I sweat.
Yeah. Great choice there, Mike. I went with mixed martial arts boxing for the obvious reasons. I mean, you train your body to turn into a machine because it has to take blow after blow after blow, especially in mixed martial arts because it's lower and upper. You don't know where it's coming from. A lot more damage to the ribs, a lot more damage to the legs, which obviously makes it harder to keep your stance and keep your strong stance because you're getting torn apart from head to toe. So boxing, obviously, for the reasons that someone's trying to hit you in your head as hard as they can, and you have to train to endure that. And some girl in the gym told me the other day she saw a guy doing these neck kind of pull-ups, so he had the towel and he's fighting and he's trying to pull his head up on the pull-up bar. And like, what the hell? I was like, what do you think boxers have to train for? The force of a punch could feel like a car accident. Yep. They can get whiplash instantly, so their necks have to be strong enough to withstand a whiplash, potential whiplash punch over and over and over and over, and that comes with kicks to the head in martial arts. So clear, obvious reasons. I don't need to keep going on. My number 3 is mixed martial arts boxing.
No, that's a good choice. Yeah, it's and then watch your average UFC event and tell me how many people you see after the match covered in their own blood. There's also a reason why these fighters only actually fight twice a year. Yeah, people need to respect how tough those guys are.
Yep.
Speaking of toughness, okay, number 2, football. It's you talk about car crashes. Measured every collision in a football game can register as a car crash. Whiplash, CTE, neck injuries, knee injuries, all kinds of injuries, broken ribs, all those kinds. Like it's a car accident all over the field, every game, every week. And we've talked about how the NFL schedules them and college football schedule themselves now every day. So it's football players. Like
once again, we match. Yeah. I also went with football and it's more remembering and seeing a lot of the older highlights and how incredibly hard players used to collide. And the sad reality of so many of those guys you see concussed, and people run to them to just hold them up, and when they should be on the ground, not walking, not trying to be cognitive in any way, just relaxing their brain, and nowhere there should be no brain movement. We saw it over and over again. And like you said, it would really look like two little beetles just demolishing each other so many times when one guy was going in an opposing direction towards another guy, or, some guys in the air, poor hopeless receiver or tight end flipping 2-3 times, cartwheeling before they violently hit the ground. So yeah, we've seen the evolution of the game to where we don't see too much of that anymore, but occasionally there is that crunching sound that still makes you cringe when a player gets kind of caught in the sauce in between the tackles. So you and I in agreement one more time. I know our number ones are different. Mikey, what's your number 1?
Okay. I mean, you could probably expect what my number 1 is. Hockey. Everything I just said about football on knives.
Yep.
On ice with knives on your feet. I mean, this is a sport where guys continuously play with very bad injuries. I mean, every year after the Stanley Cup final ends, we always hear, well, so-and-so was playing with a partially torn meniscus. He had dislocated his kneecap in game 2. All of his ribs are broken. Blah, blah, blah. Like his foot's broken. All those kinds of things. And they just keep playing. Hockey players, I always say, are the toughest athletes on the planet.
Yeah.
Because of everything they have to go through. And I'm sorry, again, knives on their feet. We've had multiple players have their throats cut by skates.
Yes. Yep.
We had a guy named Eric Carlson who had his Achilles ruptured because a player stepped on the back of his foot with his skate and just popped it. That's
disgusting.
Yeah.
That's straight disgusting.
And it was dirty. And I know
it.
His name was Matt Cook.
His name was Matt Cook, and that does not happen unintentionally. That's freaking dirty.
His name was Matt Cook, and I hate him as a player and as a person because of it, because he knows he did it on purpose.
As everybody should, because that is scandalous. I mean, that man could have not ever walked properly again for his life, and probably doesn't. So,
correct.
All right, my number one toughest sport, and that is going to be big wave surfing. This is waves on alien steroids that people have to sometimes get dropped out of a helicopter to get to. And then they have to be towed in on a high-powered jet ski just to get a chance to, quote-unquote, play the sport. There's so much playing here. This is as life and death as it gets because it's you and the ocean, like I said, with an injection of alien steroids in a slab that is not meant for a human or even a killer whale, because killer whales themselves don't venture in these parts of places that have this break, because it could be a threat to them as well, even though they could probably manage it and surf it. They can conquer anything. They're the apex. Humans are conquering these waves. And in particular, there's a documentary coming out on widely renowned best women's big wave surfer in the world, Maya Gabera, who almost killed herself multiple times. But the last time she had a spill, people thought that was it for her. And she's rehabbing and she's coming back. And it's incredible that when you see the angle that they're taking for these waves and they look up, I kid you not, people, some of these waves are as big as like a 12-story building. And you might be like, oh, that's ridiculous. No, some of these waves are over 70 feet. That's a 12-story building. So, or at least a 10-story building in some cases. So these people have always had my respect. It's something I thought I may want to venture into in my mid-20s when I first started surfing. I was enamored by this big wave thing. I wanted to be towed in on jet skis. I wanted to have that rush. But the more I saw that this is a death trap, I didn't know if I was ready to just throw my life into this death trap. Because, you know, you better love this with every single fiber of being that you have, because you know you might die. So it's like, I really did die doing what I love. So hats off to the big wave surfers out there on the Red Bull series and all you other crazy cats that just do it for fun. Thank you for living my dream so I can admire what you do, but in another lifetime, right, Mikey?
And, yes,
you'll have skates on and I'll be surfing big waves.
Exactly. In another lifetime. Somewhere in the multiverse out there, you're a big wave surfer and I'm Connor McDavid.
And in this lifetime, you know what's about to go on right now, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I think so that was a fun game. That was a good kind of back and forth there, but means we have to play the best game in the world.
It's showdown time. You know what time it is.
Yes,
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Stump the Squad. Yes, sir. So, yeah, and then there were two, but we're still going to make it fun here. Thank you guys for making it to our favorite time in the show. That is Stump the Squad. Play along with us. -2 if you get it wrong, +2 if you get it right. Please comment and say you're smarter than the squad. Apparently, Mikey said, I am destined to be stumped. So bring it on, Mikey. What you got this week?
Okay. Take it to the baseball diamond. In 1991, the Toronto Blue Jays selected Sean Green with a compensatory pick. What future MLB manager had signed with the San Francisco Giants to give them that pick? Is it A, Joe Girardi, B, Bud Black, C, Torey Lovullo, or D, Art Howe?
Joe Torre, A.
Joe Torre was not an option.
What was A?
Joe Girardi was.
Joe Girardi, sorry.
Okay. This week, I have successfully stumped Jamie.
Damn it, what's the answer? Is
Bud
it D?
Black.
Bud Black? Okay.
Bud Black.
Yeah, that's an impossible question. See, Mikey likes asking impossible questions. My questions, you guys might actually guess them right. So, Mikey, for the win this week,
okay,
let's see if you know this one. Coco Gauff, we mentioned her earlier in the show.
Yes.
Cute pseudonym, right? It's like, hey, these guys, you know, some of these athletes and actors get to choose whatever name they want, right? They create a brand around themselves. But can you tell me what her real name, her name on her birth certificate is? So what is Coco Gauff's birth certificate first name? Are we ready for this one?
Yeah.
All right. Is it A, Chantel, B, Sydney, C, Corey, or D, Christine?
God.
Chantel, Corey, Christine, and B was, well, we say B's out of it. Cassie. So now you have three options.
Okay. So Chantel, Corey, or Christine. You'd think it would be Corey because that's closest to Coco.
Final guess.
Christine.
Final guess is Christine. And while Mikey thought he got me this week, he should have trusted his intuition because her first name is Corey. So, wah, 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 wah. We have both stumped each other this week. There will be no winner, but for shits and giggles, how about we predict how many goals in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals? Who's closest to it? Do we get the win? You want to do it that way?
Sure.
All right. Total goals in Game 4. 6.
6. All right. 4.
4. So you're going for a 3-1 win.
Yep.
All right. And I'm going for a 4-2 win. Because it ain't going to be 5-1. And you can't win if it's 3-3. So, Mikey, your streak has kind of come to an end temporarily. We'll see if these teams can play to a low affair for you. I don't think so because Skinner's letting in everything left, right, and center. So I think that might be up to as many as 3 goals in a period in the next game. So I kind of smell the win here, but we'll have to wait and see what happens between the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup. We have Game 3 going on right now in the NBA Finals. We are shifting into full swing here with summer baseball. I'm going to be taking our team to the Rays A's game on July 2nd at 12:30. So that should be a fun one. And I'm sure some of you guys out there looking forward to summer baseball as well. Mikey, anything you're looking forward to this upcoming week? Anything that you need our fans to know about? What do they need to watch this weekend? What should we have our eyes on?
Well, I mean, obviously watch New York Yankees baseball. They're the best baseball team in the world, and they always are. But yeah, keep an eye on the NBA and NHL finals. I think these series are going to get better as the series go on. I really do feel like this is about to go like, I know I made it in our predictions. I think the NBA finals is going at least 6, and I think the Stanley Cup finals, I think it's going 7. Awesome. I think they're going to go back and forth. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. Father's Day is coming up. Happy Father's Day, to all the fathers out there. Yep. We appreciate you. And also with the Father's Day is the U.S. Open. Love you, Pops. It's the U.S. Open for golf. So
that's right.
Make sure
to
stay tuned to that. Another major up for grabs.
Who you got?
Who do I got?
Yeah.
It's tough not to go with Scotty, man.
Yeah.
It's really tough not to go with Scotty right now. Rory's game doesn't look like it's back to form like it was at the Masters. But so, yeah, I just, it's kind of a cop-out answer because he's been so good. But Scotty, I don't know if anybody's going to stop him.
It's a good one. It's a real good one. Maybe it might be a Scotty Bryson showdown again. If Bryson can see himself through. I don't know if Bryson can play well on Sunday, though, so it's hard to do. I'll roll with you, man. The way Scotty came back a couple weeks ago, I feel like Scotty's kind of on a mission to be like, hey, guys, I'm still here. Like, remember my year last year? It wasn't a fluke, so I'll go with Scotty as well.
All right. But no matter what you guys do, what you pay attention to, and what you watch, make sure that one of the things you're paying attention to is Cinco Squad.
That's right.
All platforms at Cinco Squad Pod 05. You can find us, interact with us. I know a few things we asked you to comment on, but also feel free to comment whatever else you want, what you want to hear us talk about. If you want to hear our opinion on something, happy to hop on because, as we always say, we do talk back. So thank you guys for joining us for episode 165. We'll be back again next week for episode 166. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow us on all the socials. Follow us everywhere, but don't follow us home. We'll see you next time.